tell me about your basic training, jump school, and
Yeah,
definitely
that's everything with.
don't skip over the showers.
Well, that's really you just put it right there. How do you take a group, and especially within the sort of, I guess, the credo of the 82nd Airborne, they're the all American fighting force, America's Guard of Honor. But how do you take all these varying people that are across 50 states, and they might be a city boy versus, the country boy that can shoot, and doesn't mind a bit of hard work, but there's maybe a few differences in the way of mindset and stuff. How do you get this cohesive group together? And it's, I would say, really, the two things that stand out are repetition and blunt force trauma. No, but I mean, really, that's what you go through in basic training. I knew it was a little bit different at first because you have that initial shark attack, at least back in the day, to where these guys were getting herded quite literally off these buses and screamed at, and they're causing this mass confusion to kind of rattle people. And being a little older, I'm looking around and I'm seeing, I knew that all this is meant to be the mass confusion and stuff. And you can look at the other guys' faces and see like just they're overwhelmed. There's a 240 up on the ridge, and they're just shooting blanks, but it's adding to everything, and smoke grenades and, what were they using? The training grenades there. So Artie Sims and stuff. And guys are just this massive gaggle running down into that full on, like, all right, let's go into a physical training. And what you don't realize is as you're going through that physical training, they're breaking through mental barriers too. There was one specific instance, and I'm not really sure if it's actually in the book, and I'm sure everyone has these moments to where they can see where there was a clear break in a mental barrier. And one of them right there was in basic training. I had packed extra, and we're all holding our sea bags over our head. That was the game of the time. So everyone's holding these 50-pound plus sea bags over their head with all their stuff in it, all their gear for basic training. And they're getting yelled at and whatnot. And you can't hold it above your head for forever. The thing was, after about 10, 15 minutes, I started to get to the point to where they're going around yelling at everybody. And I've done pretty good up to this point, but I got to where I went to, like, I knew I was going to black out, and I was like, I just accepted it. I was like, you know what, man, I'm not going to drop this bag. I'm just going to hold it over my head. And my vision went to a print pick, just that little tiny dot. I saw the stars closing in and stuff on it, and you're like, all right, here we go. I hope I can fall in a way to where I'm not going to bust my face open. And then you hit this moment of clarity. You push through it, and it was like almost like the world snapped into a vivid picture. And I felt like I had to hold that thing over my head forever. And it was just like, whoa, okay, something here is different, and it was like facing those challenges and almost looking forward to the next one along the way, and seeing where people ran up against their own type of barrier like that and pushed through.
Mm-hmm. You said herded, and I immediately flashed to the Fort Bragg cattle cars, just getting crammed in those things to go out to the ranges.
Oh, yeah.
They're quite literally semi-truck trailers, and you just get shoved into this thing.
They weren't using those anymore by the time I made it to Bragg. They were using the white school buses. So they have started to shift towards the kinder and gentler. But I am no stranger to the cattle cars.
I also remember those old World War II barracks.
Oh, yes.
And I remember that made national news, but only after I got to spend a few lovely weeks in those accommodations.
Oh, that's amazing.
But backed up. They were. I think they were literally condemned.
Yeah, we had a kid fall through one of the flooring. We were doing a training room clearing using those buildings. So we would do something to run out there during PT and then use rubber ducks. And yeah, one of the kids fell through the floor, and that was the last time we were allowed to do that. I don't know what you're talking about. They were just so dilapidated.
I didn't do Army basic training. I started in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that was very vividly similar was your description of taking showers. And I remember in the Navy, at least we had 5 minutes to get all 80 of us through this big communal shower.
Yes.
So how did your drills get you clean?
I mean, and that was the every night. I know the one mentioned in the book, that was in particular Drill Sergeant Ogle. And he, of course, they yell out that toe the line, and everybody runs up and they're, shower time, and you have that impossible time hack to make that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the thing after thing. So everyone is standing around there, and of course there's going to be one or two that just didn't make it, so you're standing there just trying to hold a towel with one hand. And these towels, it's almost like these towels that they supply for basic training that you can get are purposely too small. It's like you feel like you're, it's a struggle to try to stay covered, and you've got your soap in one hand because what you have to do is to effectively shower anyway. They just march just through the wall of showers, and they were always turned on randomly. So in the beginning, it was all cold. And then they were like, oh, well, you guys want responsibilities. You want warm showers. And they actually picked out one of the most nervous and anxious kids. And they would kind of shark attack him. And they're like, go start the showers, and they would just be on him the whole time screaming as he's running in there, because they gave him like another impossible time hack of 10 seconds to turn on all the showers for the rest of the bay to go through. And here's 50. Well, I think at the time it was 60. They dropped so many people in that class. We started with 80, and I think we left with 40 something. I put the numbers in the book, but to march the people through. So half of them are cold, half of them are hot. And this particular one mentioned in the book is everyone is around this, and it's, again, repetition and blunt force trauma until you start figuring out how to either cover for one another or have your stuff set up in such a way to go on a moment's notice, which you can equate to later on in your career as QRF, quick reaction force. If your gear's not set up in a specific way and it pops off, you have to be ready to jump into it. So it's really, these lessons are being built from the beginning. But this one in particular was they just hammered it into us. And yeah, that's when we go into the naked burpees, to where it's, wait a minute, hold on. What did he just, and you knew that there was, what was coming. You knew that the end state was everybody was going to be pushed to a point to where they were embarrassed. You had to face that embarrassment and then get over it. But the point being, in which he drove home at the end of the instance, was that in the battlefield and on the battlefield, there's no shame there. You're going to see, either you're going to be cuddled up, with your partner in a foxhole, nut to butt, if you will, in the way of trying to stay warm, which, man, I also did when we went into the Arkansas River Valley. That was some of the coldest. I think the clearing operation, the first 3 days, we were burning cow manure to be able to stay warm enough at night. And that smoke and the smell, and everybody is just, you get a bunch of guys crammed into a compound just to stay warm. There is no shame in that. And they were kind of breaking through those barriers that society and that you do to yourself, to where, oh, I'm embarrassed, I can't do that, or you hesitate. Break through those moments of hesitation, because you got to trust your leaders that they know what's right here. And especially in a life or death situation.